Hello, everyone. Welcome to Kiki and Kibitz. It's me, Mary, on this Felon Friday, September 5th, coming to you with a Word on the Street special report. This story basically fell on my lap, and I fell into a rabbit hole. I got really interested in this particular story because one of our Love After Lockup, Life After Lockup cast members is involved with this in real life. So this is just basically an example of system wide corruption, and especially within this prison. The corruption started with the warden and it worked itself all the way down. And we're going to get right into this. Special report: the scandal at FCI, Federal Correctional Institute, Dublin. So let's hop right into this. So, first of all, FCI Dublin is a minimum security women's correctional institution in California. Okay. And it was closed down due to a widespread sex abuse scandal. It was shut down in the beginning of 2024 and has remained shut down since then. FCI Dublin has had its share of famous prisoners. Here's some pictures of a air view of the prison. Um, Patricia Hearst, who robbed the bank back in the 70s. She was the granddaughter of a famous publishing mogul. We have Squeaky Fromme, who tried to assassinate President Ford. We have Heidi Fleiss, the infamous Hollywood madam, and Felicity Huffman. Remember her from Desperate Housewives back in the days? Well, she was also in that prison. Remember, she got busted for paying off some colleges so her kids could go there? Yeah, so that's where she served her time. And Lindsey Downs. Yes, the Lindsey Downs that we all know and love. She was also an inmate at FCI Dublin. Okay, so now let's get into the history. So basically, according to Wikipedia, a 2022 investigation by the Associated Press reported a permissive and toxic culture of sexual misconduct by predatory employees. The AP reported that inmates alleged rampant sexual abuse by correction officers and that the prisoners were allegedly threatened or punished when they tried to speak up. The environment of sexual abuse was so notorious, the inmates and workers called the facility the Rape Club. Can you believe that? So, this is the Associated Press in depth investigation into FCI Dublin, and they interviewed former inmates who talked about the toxic environment and the grapes that would be going on within the prison. And yeah, it was a pretty disgusting, bad situation how these men took advantage of these women that were incarcerated. They were just supposed to serve sentences, not be sexually abused. Okay, so as recently as of June the 9th and 10th, correctional officer were charged with sexual abuse. Okay, like I said, everyone from the warden to the chaplain to maintenance workers to people that worked in the fucking cafeteria to COs have either pled guilty or have been convicted of sexual abuse. Like I said, the warden got sentenced to 70 months and he must sign up as a offender on the offender list. Um, the chaplain who would use religious manipulation to get what he wanted out of these women. He got sentenced 7 years, and he also has to register as an offender. Okay, so now, um, like I said, there was some that took pleas, some that went to trial and were found guilty. Now, there is one correctional officer. His notorious nickname is Dirty Dick. Okay. He was indicted of sexual abuse back in 2023, and he had a trial. Okay. And as you can see here, his defense was basically there was no physical evidence, there was no videos, there was no pictures, unlike the warden. They found naked pictures of an inmate that he was accused of abusing on his government issued phone. Can you believe this shit? The warden had naked pictures of an inmate on his government issued phone. Well, Dirty Dick was smart. Okay, he didn't leave any trail. He didn't leave a technical trail. There was no pictures. There wasn't any physical evidence. So that was his defense at his first trial. Now, inmates testified that he would come in dressed as a cowboy, spank them in their cells. I mean, all sorts of crazy stuff. Okay. He would peek in on them while they're showering, allegedly. He would order inmates to get intimate with each other while he pleasured himself, allegedly. He allegedly raped a few inmates, abused others. Um, Former inmates that testified at his first trial said that he will walk around the prison like he was the shit. Now, the question is, didn't he have a state issued correctional officer uniform? Why was he allowed to walk around dressed like a cowboy? Asking for myself. Okay, so unfortunately, the first trial, the jury was deadlocked. So his trial just recently started again. It's the first day for the retrial for him. That was at the beginning of this week. It actually started on Monday. And Dirty Dick actually had a statement, okay? He stopped and started talking to the cameras that were in front of the courthouse, even though his lawyer was dragging him away. And he said, I would like to say a lot, Smith said outside of U.S. District Court in Oakland, while simultaneously saying his lawyers had advised him to keep quiet. The girl who testified, I never touched her. The whole time she was in prison, not one time. She got $650,000 and now she's removed from my indictment. He then added, just perhaps I'm innocent. I just wanted to say, as a side note, his original indictment involved three victims. Now, in this retrial, it is up to five. Okay. So, moving on with his statement. The woman with Smith gave him a searing look before his team headed up to the fourth floor to the courtroom of U.S. District Court Judge Yvonne Gonzalez Rogers, who presided over Smith's first trial in March, which ended in a hung jury. It wasn't clear who Smith was talking about, but it's true. He's currently facing 14 counts of sexual abuse of a ward and abusive sexual contact while he was a correctional officer in 2019 and 2021. When he was tried in the spring, the prosecution has charged him with 15 counts, and the victim as LB has been dropped from the case. But there still are four women, F, S, L, and C, all asked that their names not be used, who will allege that Smith, who's nicknamed Dirty Dick, is confided in the prosecutor's charging documents, abused them while they were incarcerated in the prison, which has closed down in April 2024 as it became embroiled in a high profile national sex abuse scandal. So Dirty Dick insists that he just might be innocent. So he is referring to a class action settlement that former inmates sued the Federal Department of Corrections for lack of oversight for allowing this shit to happen. And they were settled nearly $116 million. Okay, so this money was divided up amongst, abuse victims, rape victims. I mean, basically everybody that, filed a complaint, and had their abuse documented. They received a piece of the settlement, and this is what Dirty Dick was referring to in his statement, that one of his victims received 650K and she was dropped from his indictment. Okay, so I found a witness list for his retrial that is currently happening right now. And to read the stories these inmates had to endure, okay, like I said, they were there to serve out their sentences for their crimes. They were there to repay their debt to society, not to be abused by the people in charge. Okay, that is downright disgusting to me, on how these correctional officers, the chaplain, and even the warden all participated in this. The warden is someone that you should be able to go to and say, listen, this is going on, this is going on. No, he was the one, like, practically running the whole grape club. Disgusting. Okay, disgusting. So, like I said, there are tons of witnesses that are going to testify at Dirty Dick's retrial, including Lindsey. Lindsey will testify that while she was an inmate at FCI Dublin, Smith made inappropriate and sometimes sexual comments to her. She will further testify that Smith kissed her on multiple occasions, and that on at least one occasion he grabbed her upper leg, thigh, and buttocks. It is so sad to me that these women, who obviously had their own issues before they wound up in prison, had to deal with this added layer, okay, of abuse. So basically, Dirty Dick is, his second trial, his retrial started this week. They expect it to last until about September 20th or so. So I will definitely let you guys know what the outcome of all of this is. I just hope the women get the justice and the closure that they need and they fucking deserve. Thank you, everybody, for watching me. Please subscribe if you don't already. Double check that you are subscribed. Share my video with a friend or 10. Like, comment. Please consider joining my membership and check out my merchandise. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend.